Malleus and the Prefect meet for the first time in Book 2, where Malleus visits Ramshackle under the impression that it was still abandoned. While looking displeased that he has lost his place where he could go to enjoy the peace of solitude, he seems amused by the revelation that the Prefect does not know who he is and chooses to let them remain ignorant, saying that it is for their own benefit and permitting them to call him a name by their choosing. Although you may one day regret it. Malleus observes that if the Prefect has taken up residence in the dorm, it is no longer abandoned, saying that he will need to find other ruins for his next nocturnal constitutional, and leaving. This is mentioned again in his third birthday vignette, where we learn he has not been going to Ramshackle as often as he did before the Prefect moved in, as it has become unusually lively. Grimm names Malleus Hornton. They meet for the second time in Book 3, where Malleus hears his nickname for the first time and refers to the Prefect as Fearless. Malleus says that the Prefect does not know fear twice, both times using an identical form of expression in the original game that was written in two different ways on EN. This kind of rewriting would usually not be an issue in localization as long as the original meaning is being preserved, but Crowley has a similar line about the Prefect where he uses a different turn of phrase from Malleus that is identical in meaning. It is as if Malleus is repeating, "You do not know fear," while Crowley is saying, "You are fearless." While this might not mean anything in the end, there is a chance that the two characters being the same but different may prove important to the story, as is being portrayed in the original game via dialogue like this. When Malleus learns about the deal that the Prefect has made with Azul, he responds, "Then once the sun sets tomorrow, I suppose this place will belong to him," looking amused by the idea that the Prefect doesn't like him, speaking as though their loss is a given. Malleus encourages them to fight for their dorm, saying that they are quite the schemer for as doe-eyed as they may appear. The Prefect thanks him for a hint he provided about gargoyles, but he says he was not trying to offer some cryptic clue. Ashen Grotto's calm features contorting in frustration must have been quite the sight. Would that I could have been a fly on the wall. Lilia delivers a holiday greeting card to the Prefect in Book 4 on Malleus's behalf, saying that he's a bit peeved that once again nobody invited him to any festivities this year, and encouraging the Prefect to do so if they hold any parties with their friends, but it is never insinuated that they do. The next time they meet, Malleus comments that he never received a reply to his card, but he seems pleased to receive an invitation to the VDC. When they meet for the fourth time, the Prefect and Grimm finally realize who Malleus is. He says, "I trust you see what I meant now, when I said not knowing my name was for your own benefit," and gives them permission to continue referring to him as Hornton. In Book 6, Malleus reflects that he was disappointed when the Prefect first arrived, as the abandoned building he loved was no longer abandoned. Despite it returning to its abandoned state, he says that with them and the other students gone, he feels a most unpleasant sensation, like briars scratching against his skin. When Malleus and the Prefect meet for the fifth time, he says he will be glad to answer any questions they may have about the Thorn Fairy, inviting them to Diasomnia. The sixth time they meet, the Prefect says that they may have found a way to return home, and Malleus asks if they would wish for some way to guarantee that they'd never lose their friends, or family, or anything else. When the Prefect responds, "No one likes losing those close to them," Malleus asks, "Then why would he?" presumably in reference to Lilia, but he does not continue the thought. Malleus reflects on advice that Lilia gave him when he was a child, warning him to not wield his great power recklessly, and asks, "What good is this great power of mine? There's no one left who will invite me anywhere now." At Lilia's farewell party, Lilia thanks the Prefect for treating Malleus the same as all their other friends, saying that he needs more interaction with the outside world and someone he can call a friend. Malleus appears at the party in what might be his seventh meeting with the Prefect, but does not acknowledge them. In Sebek's dream, he encourages them to eat and speaks with Grimm about the group sounding sleep-addled. Malleus selects Ramshackle dorm for Diasomnia's venue during Halloween, saying that he has always considered that old abandoned house to be the best suited place for Halloween by far. Deuce comments, "Abandoned? I feel bad for Prefect," but it is not clear if Malleus forgot about the Prefect or if he still considers it abandoned despite how it is occupied. Malleus is unhappy with the conduct of the Magicam monsters who, in addition to touching him without his consent and their constant photography, trespass into Ramshackle dorm. He says, "I had hoped to give that human an enjoyable Halloween, and yet I've dragged them into a terrible mess instead." At the end of the event, Malleus thanks the prefect for lending him the use of their dorm, saying, "This year's Halloween week was quite a special one to me." Malleus interacts with the prefect fairly often during Glorious Masquerade, asking them to take a picture of Silver and Sebek for Lilia, inviting them to join the festival with the group and inviting them to dance. Malleus makes an attempt to help safeguard the prefect when Rollo drops them into the waterway but fails, having lost the ability to use his levitation magic. The prefect is saved by Train. On En, the word friend was added to Malleus's dialogue, but that is not something he has ever actually said. This was an upgrade from when he called the prefect an acquaintance during En's first Halloween, which he also did not actually say. His original line is, "That human." During the Fleur City Festival, Grim refuses to let Malleus sit next to the prefect, and Malleus ends up sitting next to Grim instead. There is a parallel to this interaction during the Playful Land event, where Ace announces he will be sitting next to the prefect in a theater. Whereas Malleus sat next to Grim during Glorious Masquerade, Grim sits on the prefect's lap at Ace's behest, with both of them sitting next to Ace as a result. Ace is not amused to hear that the prefect and Grim chose to follow Malleus willingly into the spectral realm, telling them, "We're gonna have a nice, long chat where you explain it all." During Firelit Sky, Cater invites the group to take a photo with a melon that is supposed to make friendships last forever. While the prefect agrees, Malleus refuses. Malleus will occasionally ask the prefect for their opinion, welcoming their input on a souvenir for Lilia, looking forward to the Port Fest performance with the prefect's encouragement and to their thoughts on his cooking. Malleus asks the prefect for their age in a voice line where he then responds, "You're practically a baby from my perspective." He also comments on their eyes, sparkling like a child's. He also tries on his ceremonial robes at the prefect's request, and says the prefect is welcome to touch his horns, but he can't guarantee what would happen to you if you did. He also threatens to strike them with lightning, saying, "Have you considered I could use lightning to smite you where you stand?" In another voice line, he invites the prefect on a walk, encourages them to invite him to one of Ramshackle dorm's dorm-wide meetings and to join him and Sebek in training. He says it would be nice if the prefect could experience Halloween in Briar Valley someday, and also invites them to show them the blooming roses at the castle, should they ever pay a visit. Malleus invites them on a boat ride during Firelit Sky, to the library, and encourages them to go to him if they need help with any part of an assignment, as, "I wasn't expecting anything from you to start with." In a Glorious Masquerade line, he says there is never a dull moment with the prefect, and in another line he offers to test their strength against his own but changes his mind as, "Humans are fragile creatures." When Grim helps himself to the cotton candy at Malleus's stall, Malleus declares that he shall allow it, as Grim is the prefect's companion. Malleus has an En line about being afraid of losing the prefect, but this was a mistranslation. His original line is closer to saying that he is afraid that the prefect will come to fear him as others do.